What's going on, Sooner Nation? Today we got to talk about a guy that's going to be attending the January 27th Junior Day. Why you guys should be really excited about this recruitment, what this could mean for Oklahoma, but then also who else are they looking at this position. And before we dive into it, guys, we need to take care of the housekeeping. So make sure you hit that like button. Join the discussion, right? Let me know what you guys are thinking. Is this a prospect you think Oklahoma could land? Who do you guys want to see Oklahoma land? I really need to hear from y'all. Additionally, if you haven't already, just hit that subscribe button. Remember, 60% of you guys that watch my videos aren't subscribed, but you continue to come back and watch them. So just make sure you're subscribed. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. It would really help me out. So today we got to talk about the four-star prospect that Oklahoma has been pursuing. He's going to be up here on January 27th for the Junior Day with an elite list of visitors, which we will dive into on Thursday, so make sure you stay tuned for that video. But we're talking today about Christian Jones. Christian Jones is a four-star linebacker out of Omaha, Nebraska. You heard me right, Omaha, Nebraska. And of course, anybody's first instinct is to think, well, why would this kid not go play for the Cornhuskers? Matt Rule has that program running. Steve Wiltfong has a crystal ball in favor of Christian Jones. But we all know that, hey, you know what? Sometimes those early crystal balls, sometimes staying close to home, that's not always a priority for the kid. So Christian Jones is a dynamic linebacker coming in at 6'3", 210 pounds, a guy that has played wide receiver here at high school. When you watch his film, kind of a dynamic athlete. And again, we talk about it so many times with any guy that potentially could play in the coverage. I like to see them play wide receiver because, especially at the linebacker position, which in my opinion takes a high IQ to play it, if you can be able to kind of read those defenses really well, and then you have the experience to be able to go out there and catch those balls, it just leads to more interceptions, right? Or at least it increases your probability. So as you can see here in the film, Christian Jones, not going to be the most speedy guy on the field, but he can track down the ball and he can get to the carrier when needed. Now, also, you can see here, he's got the ability to go out there, play wide receiver, and catch the ball. That's not where Oklahoma's recruiting him. They're recruiting him at the linebacker position. Brent Venables and now Zach Alley, this is a guy that they're going to want to get into that room. This is the kind of kid that Brent Venables is going to be able to take, mold, and shape into potentially that next great linebacker. So before we dive into the stats a little bit, positions, outside linebacker, wide receiver, we covered that, 6'3", 220. Like I said, dude's strong. When you look at, I think there is a play in here, if we have not already covered it already, where you see him, he just wraps a guy up and just throws him to the ground. But wide receiver, total of 19 games played on varsity, total of 26 receptions, 543 yards, 10 touchdowns. He's had one carry on the rushing, so not a whole lot there. But defense, this is where we want to. These are the stats we want to pay attention to. This is where we want to focus because this is where we anticipate he is going to end up playing ball. 19 games played, 39 solo tackles. He's had 62 total tackles and 12 tackles for loss. Now, the majority of this has happened in his junior year, where he had 39 solos, 55 total tackles, and 9 tackles for loss. His sophomore year, he was able to complete the rest. And then additionally, you've seen him have 2 interceptions, 30 interception yards, 4 pass breakups, 1 fumble recovery. Dude, kind of a menace on the defensive side of the ball. And you imagine going into his senior year, he's going to have more time and more room to improve. Now, a lot of people might ask, hey, is this kid going to be a guy that can play the cheetah position? Probably not, right? You look at him probably taking a role kind of like what Danny Sutzman currently has now, maybe moving into that mic a little bit. So getting Christian Jones on campus for Oklahoma, I would imagine, is a high priority for Brent Venables and Zach Alley. And I'm really curious to see exactly how Zach Alley is going to take over the linebacker recruiting what his pitches are going to be and how he's going to be able to stay in some of these recruitments for some of the most highly touted recruits in the country. And most notably, I say the highly touted recruitments in the country. There's been another guy that they threw an offer out on September 23rd. This was before Zach Alley, and I'm probably totally going to butcher this last name. It's Nathaniel Owusu Boateng at 6'2", 205 out of IMG Academy. And the reason why I bring that up is the kids from IMG Academy, right? One thing about IMG that we know Oklahoma did well last cycle. They got Jaden Jackson, got David Stone. For a brief period, you were in the recruitment for Jordan Johnson Rubel, but that one quickly swinged in the favor of Texas, where he ended up signing. But if you're Oklahoma, you've got a couple guys that could potentially be a focus for your recruiting there, right? And I'm not saying Oklahoma's got the best chance to go in there and start landing a bunch of IMG Academy guys, because all of the elite schools across the country go in there and recruit, especially when they've got top players in the country. But I'm not saying it's out. You see Riley Pettyjohn, the 6'2", 205-pound linebacker out of McKinney, Texas. We've talked about him. Now, obviously, Texas and Texas A&M are heavy players there. Then you look at guys like Dawson Merritt. This is a guy that's also going to be here on January 27th. I think we've already talked about him. I'll have to go find it. But Dawson Merritt, 6'3", 205-pound linebacker out of Stillwell, Kansas. He's a top 130 player in the country, according to 247 Sports. This is a guy that Brent Venables wants to really establish his pipeline in the state of Kansas. There's another guy, Jaden Harmon, 6'1", 215-pound linebacker, who Brent Venables and the staff actually just went out and visited in Georgia, right? So I know a lot of people said, hey, it's going to be a Georgia lock. Pull back a little bit. I know Georgia and Clemson recruit that state really well, but Brent Venables and Zach Alley, it feels like they're going to be a dynamic duo already. And they went out there and they visited him. Obviously, we talked about Christian Thatcher the other day. It seems like maybe the staff is pulling back a little bit, but hey, also, they're just now getting around, visiting guys, so you never know. Weston Port. This was a guy that we talked about early on, a 3-star linebacker out of San Juan, California, 6'2", 225 pounds. It's a guy that Oklahoma has thrown around a little bit. Obviously, there was Kelvin Riggins for a while. Oklahoma's out on that one, guys. Not a lot going on there. But there's a lot of prospects in this class that Oklahoma could potentially be going after. So you don't get Christian Jones, there's a lot of other guys lined up. Now, do they take 2 or 3 guys? I think it depends on what happens with transfer portal and things like that. But I'm telling you, January 27th, in terms of who you're getting on campus, especially with Christian Jones, it seems promising for Oklahoma. And as an Oklahoma fan, you got to be excited with what this staff's doing on the defensive side of the ball. They're recruiting. I think they've recruited linebackers in 2 to 3 years. Well, let's say this. 2 real recruiting cycles. 2022, it's a recruiting cycle, but they didn't have a full recruiting cycle there, right? It was like 2 months. But in 2.5 recruiting cycles, whatever you want to call it, they have probably recruited linebackers as well as we have seen in 10 years? And I say that because, and I dare somebody to find a better set of linebackers that we've had in a room at one time. You have Kobe McKenzie, you have Kip Lewis, you have Danny Stutzman, who, yes, Danny Stutzman was a part of the Riley regime, but he's only been developed better under the BV regime, right? But if you want to take him out, that's fine. We still got Kip Lewis, Kobe McKenzie, Sammy Omasigo, Phil Picciotti. You have Lewis Carter. You have, who is the transfer portal guy that we got, the Division II? Can't think of his name. Drop it down in the comments below. But you guys get what I'm saying, right? The collection of talent in the linebacker room now, I think, is some of the best linebacker talent that we've had in a long, long time here at Oklahoma. And I think it's only going to get better, especially if you get Christian Jones. So, guys, make sure you jump down in the comments below, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and join the discussion. Let me know what y'all's thoughts are.